Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for all those who took the time to watch the take two of my presentation. I do appreciate that's your time, yeah? And to spend it helping me out is greatly appreciated. I've got very little to do to that now. I've run out of time for adding bits in, taking bits out, adding more pictures and stuff like that. I've just run out of time, so it's going to have to run as it is. So all I've got left to do really is correct the spelling mistakes, except for one. I'm going to leave the bloms in because I think I can get a laugh out of that. But apart from that, spelling mistakes don't look good. It looks unprofessional, so I'll go and correct those. I've got to take the start and the end off because that was for YouTube. And I've got to take the soundtrack off because it is just a pictorial video which I will talk alongside, you know, on the day. And I've still got a niggle in the back of my mind. I'm not going to get called on to do that on Saturday, but just in case I had to be ready. So it's all. It took me nearly all day yesterday to do the changes, decide what to take out, change the slides to just change lots of wordy cobblers into just bullet points and then talk over them, which works. Thanks for that, you know. Should have known better. And I had to take a lot of stills, you know. I had to set up the black cloth and get some plants down, and some of those were at the back of the shelves, and taking those photos did actually take up quite a bit of time. And because of the time constraints, quite a few photos weren't used because of the lack of light in here, because I think the sun has taken a holiday. I don't know where it is, but it's certainly not here. I haven't seen it, apart from a couple of hours yesterday evening, for a long time. It's just dull. That's just how it is. But because of that, I had a few blurred photos that just would not sharpen up in the editor, so I couldn't use them. But I used what I could and added those in, and certainly agree, you know, more pictures makes for pleasanter viewing. If this talk does take place, or when it takes place, it will take place one day, even if it's not on Saturday, which is tomorrow, isn't it? I'm thinking that if it goes down well, I may get asked to do another one, and I think the second one needs to be geared up about the types of orchids I grow and how I grow them, and more about the grow room itself and the environment controls and all things like that. A sort of more advanced version, and how with one grow space you can grow so many different ones, as long as you limit your choice to ones that are right for your environment. So I think that might make a nice second talk, a sort of more advanced version. That way I can do a hell of a lot more video clips and things like that in it, and not so many words on slides. Anyway, thanks for your help. That was great. So I've got a few tweaks to do to it that won't take long, because I'm not adding bits in or taking bits out. And when I get time, I will do a sort of proper YouTube version of that, you know, which will be not far off the one that I put up in take two. So we'll see how that goes, but that's going to be in the distant future. It's not going to be an immediate thing. While we're out here, because this is a short video, just a chatty thing really, so a few things have happened while I wasn't looking yesterday. My Dendrobium nester is starting to open. There's three canes full of buds on that one at the moment, and the first cane has opened basically, and part of a second cane. The larger cane down here hasn't actually opened its buds yet, but within the next few days that's going to be fully open. That's certainly not good enough to take to the society meeting tomorrow, but it should be in full bloom without any blooms going over in 2 weeks' time, when the next Orchid Society meeting is. So that may go on a trip. We'll have to wait and see. What else? Oh yeah, somebody was very interested in seeing Comet King as a bloom, because they've got one and it hasn't bloomed yet. Well, this still isn't fully open, but that's the sort of thing you're looking at. Pale yellow centre, quite honestly, I think in subsequent bloomings when this plant gets some strength into it, because it's just a kiki at the moment really, the yellow in the centre is deeper than that. But it's a lovely deep purple, and these are large blooms, so that's an impression of what it looks like. Yeah, these are nice large blooms. And there was something else I wanted to show you. Oh yes, that's not open yet, but it's heading down that road. That's the Coelogene Moriana, and yeah, the buds are forming now, so I can see that we should get 2, 4, probably 6, maybe 7 on that spike, and the other 2 growths are probably going to bloom as well. Certainly the middle one of the 2, that's got a spike on it, and I think all 3 will bloom, so there'll be a succession of blooms, because first time blooming, I haven't got a clue how long they're going to last, whether they're short-lived or long-lived, we'll have to wait and see, but they are large blooms, and if they last anything like the Cristata did, they'll be in bloom for quite a while, and in theory they might catch up with each other and all 3 will be out together. But I suspect the more advanced one might actually go over before the other 2 get there. But that's looking good at the moment. Oh, getting down's okay, it's the getting up. And the blooms on this are lasting incredibly well. An awful lot of the resting type dendrobiums have got quite short-lived blooms. I mean, a lot of people would reject them in a collection because of that. Under normal circumstances, they only bloom once a year, and they have a good flush of blooms, and then they're gone. And, you know, when you've got these long cane things hanging down like this, you've got, you know, load of sticks hanging around for the rest of the year. And the buds on this are starting to push on, but they're a long way off yet, so we'll get to that one eventually. And I don't know whether I can get at it, but yeah, the buds on Hercoglossum are starting to swell in places. I don't think that's going to bloom as well this year as it did last year, and it's got the edge taken off of it as far as the plant looks at the moment, because at this point a lot of the canes are dropping their leaves. Now that does happen, but it means there's lots of yellow in amongst the green. The new growths are up the top there, and you know, some of those have even got some buds. I don't think it's done that before, bloomed on. Those are last year's growths up the top, and I think in previous years they bloomed for the first time in their second year, and again in their third year, and then once you get towards the 4th year they're totally leafless canes, and they still push out a couple of buds. But I sort of check the plant over after it's bloomed. I have a look round and look at all the canes that have got no leaves on at all, and look at where they've bloomed in the past to see if there's any nodes left, and if there aren't, I take those canes off, because it's getting to be a hell of a tangled mess up here, quite honestly. But there is a lot of buds to come, even though I don't think there's quite as many as last year. But we'll wait and see. And the dendrobium up here that I thought was dead, that one in the middle there with no life showing at all, if you follow the cane down, it is doing something, so it's not dead. Now, it's highly unlikely those are going to be blooms. They're more likely to be kikis. This one had a lot of cold damage and lost the few leaves it had. You know, these have got cell damage on them. But hopefully it'll shoot out from the base. We all live in hope, don't we? Oh, and the other thing, Shari Baby's just opening. Now that's good. Now these, to me, these are probably one of the most unattractive blooms I've got. They're not very big, and they're quite a uniform dull red. I don't think much of those blooms, but I'd never be without a Shari Baby. I mean, I've got 2, and the other one's it's having a new growth spurt at the moment. I think I've got 3 or 4 new growths coming on the other one. But yeah, I keep this for the fragrance, nothing more, you know, and I'll always have it. As I say, I've got 2 to try and get, you know, the chance of more spikes and more fragrance, but I would never be without that fragrance. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a strong chocolate smell, and in a confined space it can almost be overpowering, but I like it so much, and unless it's a big watering day like what it is today when I've got to get at the pots, I'm never out here long enough for it to become overpowering for me. I know some people, you know, after 5 minutes or so, it actually gets to them. It's too much. Probably one of the most strong fragrances you can get. And if you like the smell of like melted chocolate with a hint of vanilla, get a Sherry Baby. It does the job. Does what it says on the tin, as they say. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that for today. Oh, one thing I did just notice, I'm really keeping my eye on, sorry about the camera all over the place, just got to get the long cane dens out of the way. I'm really keeping my eye on my Deesas, because I got a feeling I should start seeing some spikes soon. I mean, when I got this, it was in bloom in June. We're heading well into April now, you know, and these spikes are over a foot long. So, you know, they've got to start, grow, form their buds and push those blooms out. So if it's going to be along the same lines as last year, I should see some spikes soon. I've just watched one of Brad's rare videos, because he don't seem to do much nowadays. And he had some Deesas. So I think it was a live broadcast video, because he's in it a lot, desperately wobbling a camera around. So yeah, I think it was a live broadcast. But right at the end of the video, I caught a glimpse of them halfway through. So I wasn't actually going to watch the rest of it, because I'm not that interested in the carnivorous plants and stuff like that. But yeah, I did spot them. I caught a glimpse. I thought, he's got Deesas. I didn't know that. And then towards the end, he has a good look at them. And yes, he's got some Deesas. He's kept that quiet, hasn't he? I never knew that he grew Deesas. And quite honestly, he's Northern Hemisphere. And I'm surprised they're out in bloom this time of year. That's early. But some do bloom earlier than others. Some are late bloomers. Like a lot of other types of orchids, they have their season. So I'll leave it at that. And again, thanks a lot for all your help with my talk. If I'd done that in isolation, I don't think I'd have ended up with something I was that pleased with. But with all your help, I'm quite pleased with the result now. And I'm pretty confident I can talk alongside it, not get muddled up, not get lost, and not have to rush anywhere near as much as the first version anyway. I was out of breath by the time I'd done that. So thanks for your help again, and won't be many videos now. Tomorrow's the Orchid Society. So I won't really be back out in here up to much until Sunday, so this will probably be it now for a bit, and we'll see how we go. I've just noticed the buds on the... with Cattleya buds, they're upright, yeah? They form a spike and they go up, and the buds point skywards. As soon as you see them bend over and get some colour, they're not far off. So that's my Ivana Garner apple blossom that's... I would say a few days yet, but once those buds keel over with the weight, they're getting their size, and once you start seeing the colour change, they're not too far off. So that should be coming soon. Okay, see you next time.